Welcome back, friends, to another video. On Friday, the judge released a judgment in the court battle between Epic Games and Apple. Now, this is a court case I have covered a lot on this channel. Go ahead and check out my other videos if you want more background on the case. Today, I'm going to be explaining the judgment. Now, you have to realize this is perhaps the most important business case to happen in the last 10 years, because the outcome in this case will directly impact your life as a consumer. The judgment in this case was so shocking. I was sick to my stomach reading the judgment because the stakes are so high here. Now, I think the judge did a fantastic job. The judge released a 185-page judgment detailing the reasons behind the court decision. The winner of this case is the consumer. You, the consumer, won big. Unfortunately, both Apple and Epic Games lost big. This result is going to destroy both Apple and Epic Games. To put the judgment in context, this court case is probably not over. Both sides are probably going to appeal the result, arguing the judge made mistakes. So there may be multiple trials after this one, but regardless of what happens next, this decision will stand as an important historical document on how tech companies can operate in the future. As a recap, Epic Games sued Apple, claiming they were a monopoly because Apple would not allow them to have their own purchase button on the video game Fortnite, meaning they had to use Apple's purchase button, and Apple collected a very high 30% cut of every transaction. Apple then countersued because Epic Games put their own purchase button onto Fortnite without Apple's approval, and Apple claimed their cut of the revenue Epic Games received. Let's start with the results. The court found that Apple was not a monopoly. In the United States, it is illegal to be a monopoly and block competition. But in this case, Apple was not found to be breaking any laws. However, according to the laws of California, even if you are not breaking the law, a business is still not allowed to do something unfair. In this case, the judge found that even though Apple was not breaking the law, they were engaging in business activities that were unfair. The judge has ordered 1. Apple to allow developers to include their own purchasing buttons on their apps on Apple devices. 2. Apple to allow developers to communicate with customers about alternative payment methods on Apple devices through emails and push notifications. These two orders go into effect for all apps sold on Apple devices in the United States. With regards to Epic Games, the judge did find that they breached their contract with Apple and did not act in good faith by secretly installing their own purchase button. The judge has ordered 1. Epic Games pay Apple the 30% fee collected by Epic Games from Apple devices during the case. And 2. Apple has the right to terminate their agreements with all Epic Games for breach of contract. In essence, the judge decided that Epic Games was correct. Apple was engaging in anti-competitive behavior, and the judge has decided to allow exactly what Epic Games was asking for. So now software companies will be able to use their own payment mechanisms, completely cutting Apple out of their 30% commission. But in the great irony of this case, Epic Games is banned from the Apple Store. Epic has been unable to free Fortnite. But not just Fortnite, all Epic games are banned. So Epic Games won the greatest victory for the entire software industry and consumers everywhere, and yet Epic Games will not be able to participate in any of the benefits. Now, Apple does have the discretion to let Epic Games back onto the App Store, but I really doubt that is going to happen. This is devastating to Epic Games. I don't know how the company is going to survive when it is cut off from half of the mobile video game market. This is also devastating to Apple. Analysts are predicting that Apple will lose billions of dollars a year because of this. The main issue became that Apple was blocking information that would benefit consumers. For instance, if a developer was having a sale on their website and selling their game for 30% off, they could not communicate that to the customer on an Apple device, because then Apple would lose their 30% cut from the customer purchasing through Apple's system. Apple has been keeping customers in the dark so that they can maintain their profits, even though they are the largest company in the world with incredibly high profit margins. The court found that this is unfair, that Apple cannot keep their customers in the dark about potential cost savings. It would be like going to a department store and being required to use the store's credit card to make a purchase rather than Visa, MasterCard, or American Express. Customers should be allowed to choose on how to pay for a purchase. The order will now allow customers to see two buttons when they check out. One button will be to purchase through Apple, and the other button will be to purchase through the game developer directly at presumably 30% less. This is a huge direct cost savings to consumers overnight. This is something that consumers deserved because in many cases, these options were available to them, they just never knew about it. Additionally, the notification order generates an even bigger impact. Before, companies could not even email their Apple customers and tell them about promotions that would take them away from paying through Apple. Now, companies are free to tell their customers about deals without Apple's approval, which is the way it should be. Companies can send notifications directly to their customers' phones with deals. The court found that communication is good and performs an indispensable role in the allocation of resources in a free enterprise system. The bottom line is that both Apple and Epic Games lost big, and consumers won. Let's get into some of the details. One of my big takeaways is that the judge criticizes Epic Games for acting in bad faith. The judgment makes it very clear that Epic Games' business practices were underhanded. Epic Games planned a whole operation using covert means and deception to secretly violate Apple's terms of service in a coordinated publicity stunt. The rule of law is based on the idea that people engage in business using good faith. That means you need to be upfront with your business partners and engage with each other honestly. The judgment does not reward underhanded behavior, and Epic Games will suffer the consequences of breaching their contract. I think what the court wanted to see is for Epic Games to have filed their lawsuit and argued their case without breaching their terms of service. Another big takeaway was that we got to see a lot of secret financial information during this trial. A key part of the decision turned on finding out the profitability of Apple's App Store. Now, throughout the whole trial, Apple kept maintaining that it was impossible to determine the profitability of the App Store. They claimed that the App Store was integrated into the overall company, and there was no way that you could pull out the finances of a separate unit. The judge did not buy that explanation, as it is ridiculous. As a business, you should never go into court and tell the judge, "We have no idea how much money we make," because the judge will then decide for themselves, which they did in this case. The judge looked at Apple's finances and sided with Epic Games' analysis that they were making around 75% operating margins on running the Apple App Store, which is an enormous operating profit. Apple was also not able to justify why their profits were so high. They made the argument that their profits were paying back R&D investments from previous years, but they never provided any analysis on why those investments justify a 30% cut of every gaming transaction for the rest of time. The fact that Apple is incredibly profitable and the largest company in the world drove the court's decision to find their actions unfair. One of the disturbing takeaways is that the profits in this case come largely from video game addiction. Now, the judgment does not call it addiction, but Apple claims that game spend is highly concentrated among a few consumers. Looking at the numbers, gaming apps account for 70% of all App Store revenues, and this revenue is generated by less than 10% of App Store consumers. Of all gaming customers, only 6% account for 88% of all game revenue. These gamers are spending $740 annually on video games. Now, I do not know who is spending $740 on video games. That's $62 per month. Most of that is in-game impulse purchases. So the strategy seems to be to give people apps for free in order to get them out to as many people as possible. Of those customers, find the video game addicts and then ping them constantly on their phones so they keep giving you money. This is different from how most people think of a normal business model. And it's disturbing to think that a game like Fortnite is designed to target addicts. This small portion of consumers is essentially funding the entire Apple App Store, which is mostly free. The judgment even footnotes with this. These consumers, frankly, appear to be engaging in impulse purchasing, and both parties' profits from this sector are significant. This specific conduct is outside the scope of this antitrust action, but the court nonetheless notes it as an area worthy of attention. Another surprising revelation in this case is that Epic Games laid out their strategy for the next 20 years. It revolves around a concept called the Metaverse. Tim Sweeney, the CEO of Epic Games, believes that with the creation of Fortnite, he has started to create the Metaverse. The Metaverse is a virtual world where players can interact. The goal is that the Metaverse will become so advanced, so engaging, that people will prefer to perform daily tasks within the virtual world rather than in real life. For instance, you would rather hang out with your friends inside of Fortnite rather than hang out with your friends in real life. Tim Sweeney actually references the movie directed by Steven Spielberg in 2018 called Ready Player One. And he says that the movie is an accurate description of the Metaverse. In the movie, everyone in a futuristic society spends most of their daily lives inside of a video game. The video game becomes more real to them than real life. This is Epic Games' strategy, which they could not implement while Apple maintained a 30% cut of all of their revenues on Apple mobile devices. Unfortunately, I doubt that Tim Sweeney will succeed in creating the Metaverse now that his company is cut off from half of the world's mobile devices. However, I do think that the Metaverse will happen. It is just like social media today. We find ourselves at this moment with social media where you can't do business unless you are on Facebook. People just can't find you. And if you get kicked off of Facebook or banned from Facebook, you are essentially out of business. The Metaverse could likely become the next thing. If your business does not operate within this new virtual world, you will not be able to reach customers, and you will essentially be out of business. This is all relevant because we are talking about monopolies, and the Metaverse will be the monopoly of tomorrow. The big problem with the Metaverse is that reality is free. You don't have to pay somebody to be born, but you will have to pay someone to exist in a virtual world because someone else owns it. So in the future, everyone will be forced to exist inside a virtual world like Fortnite, and if you want to wear clothes, you will have to buy Fortnite skins. This brings me to my final point. This court case is an important moment in business history. It is ironic that Apple had their landmark court case against Microsoft in 1994, 27 years ago. Apple was a smaller company going up against the market-dominant company, Microsoft. And here we are in another court battle, but now Apple is the market-dominant company against Epic Games. It might just be the case that 30 years from now, we will see another court battle against Epic Games and the Metaverse. We see this pattern in history of new technology being developed, and then the courts deciding how business can be conducted in these new markets in a fair way. The court spoke loudly and clearly in this decision that in the market of today, that consumers will be protected. And it is our hope that the trend to maintain protections for consumers will continue into the future. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, go ahead and leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think. Do you think the court did a good job here, or do you think they should have freed Fortnite? Go ahead and let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Zach from Wolves in Finance. Let's go out and make some money.